In the vast, uncharted reaches of space, with beauty and wonder abound, a silent terror lurks. While our own galaxy has birthed countless threats, a new enemy from beyond awaits us. The Tyranids, a relentless intergalactic swarm, driven by an insatiable hunger. From the Imperium to the Eldar, the Tau to even the Orcs, all recognize the singular purpose of the Tyranids: to consume. This ravenous horde descends upon unsuspecting planets, guided by a hive mind, stripping them bare of all life and resources. Whilst once sated, they move on, leaving behind a lifeless husk of a world. This cycle continues, galaxy after galaxy, until only barren rocks remain, illuminated by the fading light of dying stars. The threat is an existential one, a devourer of worlds that leaves nothing but desolation in its wake. A Tyranid invasion unfolds in distinct waves, vast clusters known as hive fleets. Each fleet is a monstrous tendril of trillions, guided by a single all-knowing hive mind. Yet even within this unified species, diversity exists. From biological adaptations to tactical variations, each hive fleet is unique. This forces the galaxy's defenders to constantly adapt their strategies. Some hive fleets, like Behemoth, Kraken, and Leviathan, have become infamous. But among them, one stands out as truly intriguing. Hive Fleet Kronos. Its unique characteristics and strategies make it a fascinating case study in the ever-evolving war against the Tyranids. Having only recently extended its grotesque tendrils into our realm, knowledge of Kronos remains scarce. Yet, it appears to possess an exceptionally rare appetite for the ethereal flesh born from the corrupting chaos of the warp. Before exploring the Hive Fleet Kronos, we must understand the species themselves. The species is not native to our galaxy and have become infamous in these turbulent times. Their first major invasion, Hive Fleet Behemoth, erupted from the eastern fringe in M41. 2 centuries later, Hive Fleet Kraken followed, spreading its tendrils wide. The third major incursion, Leviathan, emerged from beneath the galactic plane, threatening Terra itself. While these 3 invasions have sparked the Tyrannic Wars, countless smaller fleets have breached the galactic border, each seemingly specialized. This raises a crucial question. Why are the fleets divided? The Ordo Xenos debates the true nature of these swarms. Some believe the Tyranids we've encountered are merely scouts, heralding the arrival of a far greater fleet, a force from which there will be no escape. Regardless of their origins, each new hive fleet demonstrates evolution from its predecessors, adapting to the specific environments and foes they encounter. Hive Fleet Naga, though small, was seemingly tailored to consume Eldar. Though mostly annihilated by 3 craft worlds, it successfully absorbed vast amounts of Eldar DNA. This led to the creation of psychically potent creatures like the Zoanthrope, born from the consumption of Farseers. While the Eldar and Orc conflicts differ, the hive mind feasted upon both. This raises a question. If Tyranids rely on consuming physical bodies for evolution, how do they fare against formless foes like warp demons? It would seem futile, yet, as we shall see, this isn't the case. The Tyranids' ability to selectively assimilate traits, combined with their rapid evolution, makes each hive fleet a specialist, honed for specific adversaries and unique battlegrounds. The Octarius War further exemplified this. A tendril of Hive Fleet Leviathan, pitted against a vast Orc empire, eventually triumphed by evolving to counter the green-skin hordes. The galaxy now faces Tyranids hardened by this conflict. In the wake of the Great Rift's formation, a new hive fleet, known as Kronos, emerged. The exact time of its arrival remains unclear, but what is certain is its unprecedented behavior. Historically, Tyranids avoided conflicts with the forces of chaos. The flesh of demons offered no sustenance, and engaging them meant sacrificing valuable resources for territories devoid of biological nourishment. Thus, Hive fleets often rerouted their galactic advance to avoid demon-infested sectors. Segmentum Obscurus, home to the Eye of Terra, exemplifies this pattern. The demonic presence there deterred most Hive fleets, offering no incentive to venture into its heart. It seemed as if the region, though teeming with demons, would remain safe from the extragalactic Tyranids. However, the emergence of Kronos after the formation of the Cicatrix Maledictum changed everything. This Hive fleet demonstrated an unprecedented appetite for the warp-born ichor of demons, marking a radical shift in Tyranid behavior. Emerging from the galaxy's southeastern fringe, the Kronos Tendril has charted an unusual course through Segmentum Ultima. Defying typical tactics, it follows the path of the Great Rift, spiraling upwards toward the galactic core. This trajectory exposes the fleet to a strong chaotic presence, a stark contrast to the usual avoidance strategy. To navigate this treacherous path, Kronos has developed unique adaptations. Foremost among these is the utilization of the Shadow in the Warp, a terrifying psychic projection emitted by the Hive mind. This expansive bubble surrounds the Hive fleet, disrupting the connection between reality and the hellish realms of the Chaos Gods. The Shadow in the Warp serves as an early warning sign for potential prey. Its vast reach, extending hundreds of light years, acts as a psionic cloud, severing the link to the immaterium and leaving planets vulnerable to the encroaching Tyranid threat. As a sinister shadow engulfs the world, an unsettling wave of anxiety washes over its inhabitants. Sleep becomes a torment, plagued by nightmares that feel chillingly real. Yet a far more sinister fate awaits those sensitive to the currents of the warp. Psychers, astropaths, and navigators are driven to the brink of madness, consumed by an insatiable hunger from a great entity. But the Shadow's reach extends beyond the living. The immaterium, the ethereal plane that underpins reality, is disrupted. The Astronomicon, a beacon guiding warp travel, flickers and dims. Navigating the treacherous currents of the warp becomes near impossible, plunging the galaxy into chaos. It is so potent, it becomes anathema to the forces of chaos. It disrupts the delicate link between the material and immaterial realms, severing the lifeblood of demonic entities and hindering their ability to manifest. Sorcerers find their powers waning, their invocations met with silence as the warp's energies become increasingly inaccessible. Even the demons themselves, once invincible, are now plagued by a newfound fragility. Lesser demons flicker in and out of existence, while greater ones, sensing their weakening grasp on reality, abandon the material plane altogether. The hell-spawned progeny of the dark gods find their dominance challenged as the Tyranid presence grows ever stronger. The Shadow's power is so immense that it shrinks warp, rifts, and storms, further diminishing the reach of chaos. A unique deviation from typical Tyranid behavior unfolds in the curious relationship between Hive Fleet Kronos and Leviathan. Unlike other Hive fleets, which maintain vast distances to avoid competition for resources, these two have forged an unusual alliance. Contrary to the expected conflict upon convergence, Leviathan actively supports Kronos' growth and expansion. Leviathan's splinter fleets invade and subdue world, then, surprisingly, move on without consuming the remaining biomass. Kronos, in turn, capitalizes on this, sending its own forces to reap the rewards without expending resources on the initial invasion. This unusual collaboration between Hive Fleets Kronos and Leviathan is hypothesized to stem from a fundamental need for sustenance. Kronos, specializing in invading demon-infested worlds within the warp, faces a unique challenge: the inability to consume immaterial flesh. This limitation, coupled with the constant battles against the Neverborn, leaves Kronos vulnerable to depleting its biomass reserves. To counter this, Leviathan acts as a provider, intentionally leaving partially consumed worlds for Kronos to feast upon, ensuring its continued survival. In return, Kronos plays a crucial role for all Tyranid fleets by actively targeting demons and warp-infested regions. This deters other fleets from wasting resources on fruitless invasions, allowing them to focus on resource-rich warpaths elsewhere. This symbiotic relationship suggests a level of strategic coordination and resource management previously unseen among the Tyranids. It raises the intriguing possibility that the various Hive fleets are not independent entities, but interconnected components of a larger super-hive, acting in concert for a greater purpose. The final adaptation of Hive Fleet Kronos lies in their unique tactics against demonic foes. As previously mentioned, their unusually strong shadow in the warp severely hinder both mortal and immortal enemies. Weaker beings are reduced to anxious wrecks, unable to follow orders, breaking ranks, and fleeing. Those who remain struggle to fight effectively due to fear and infighting. Any demons already present are weakened by their disrupted connection to the warp. Some reports even suggest that weaker demons are completely extinguished when the Tyranid fleets get too close. However, the shadow in the warp is not the only tactic Kronos employs. Through countless battles, the hive mind has learned how demons fight and developed unique counter-strategies. Aside from that, Kronos avoids close-quarters combat with demons whenever possible. Having witnessed the raw brutality of close combat with chaos demons, they choose a different path. Recognizing the demon's weakness in ranged warfare, Kronos prioritizes ranged units. They favor outgunning and outmaneuvering their demonic foes. On the battlefield, Kronos Tyranids often form defensive clusters and makeshift gun lines. Heavily armored warriors unleash devastating venom cannons, reducing demons to smoldering ash. Behind them, biovores rain down bioplasma and living spores, further decimating the enemy ranks. From above, the battlefield is a maelstrom of organic missiles, acid, and biological weapons fire, obscuring the very ground itself. Beyond their biological weaponry, they have been observed developing disturbing mutations that amplify their psychic powers. One such mutation is the null node. This bio-artifact allows them to channel and amplify the fleet's shadow in the warp, making it nearly impossible for demonic entities to exist in the material realm. However, the Kronos Hive Fleet's appetite extends beyond demonic forces. While highly adapted to combat them, they are just as effective against mortal species possessing psychic abilities. Often facing armies that rely on psychic units, they possess a distinct advantage due to their oppressive projection of the shadow in the warp. Sorcerers, witches, and psykers, who once considered themselves mighty, find their powers stifled by the overwhelming presence of the Tyranid fleets. Shadowbrink, once a sacred cathedral world, fell into darkness during the 41st millennium. It housed a vast collection of powerful artifacts guarded by the Grey Knights. But the planet was overwhelmed by the relentless tide of Hive Fleet Leviathan. The ensuing carnage activated the Maelstrom Cradle, a terrible artifact that tore open a warp rift, unleashing hordes of demons. Though the demonic incursion was eventually repelled by the Tyranids, Shadowbrink was left a lifeless husk, devoid of any trace of life. However, this was not the end. The abandoned planet would soon become the stage for another bloody conflict. In the aftermath of the Great Rift's formation, Shadowbrink, now consumed by the warp storm, became a haven for demonic lords. As the legions grew, Shadowbrink became a coveted prize within the rift. Warp energy twisted the landscape, morphing it to the demons' desires. However, their burgeoning power turned Shadowbrink into a beacon of psychic energy. This attracted the attention of Hive Fleet Kronos, known for its pursuit of such signals. Led by 8 neural nodes, the Tyranids descended upon Shadowbrink. their maleceptors and zoanthropes amplifying the shadow in the warp. A suffocating wave of null energy engulfed the planet. The creature's suffocating aura caused the warp rifts and storms on Shadowbrink to flicker and die. The greater demons of Khorne, enraged, led their crimson legions in a charge against the Tyranid hordes. Kronos, preferring to avoid melee, retreated and unleashed torrents of bioweapons fire. The Khornate demons, though tough, were vulnerable to the bioacids and parasitic organisms. Their flesh melted like rotten meat under a maggot's feast. For months, the battles raged. The Tyranids repositioned, overwhelming the demonic legions with bioweapons fire. The suffocating aura of the shadow in the warp, combined with the relentless attacks, proved too much for the hordes of Khorne. They were forced back into the immaterium, leaving Shadowbrink in the clutches of Hive Fleet Kronos. This concludes today's chapter from the archives. Please like and subscribe if you want more. Leave a comment on which chapter we should reveal from the archives next.